All right, we're gonna start the May the 5th, 2020 meeting, call to order. I'll do the invocation, pledge of allegiance by Commissioner Forster, then roll call. Please stand. Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight and ask for your blessings and guidance over our meeting as we go about our weekly and bi-weekly meeting. Ask you to thank you for the watching over our first responders and all the doctors and nurses at the hospitals and the people that doing the care for everybody under the pandemic. We asked you to watch over people and asked you to help them, guide them in the way they should be and get through this as fast as we can. In your heavenly name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Brunson?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Mayor Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Furstner?
Here.
Commissioner Oliver?
Here.
All right, I want to read this first part. All interested parties are invited to be heard during the public comments and public hearing portion of the meeting. Due to the current state of emergency regarding COVID-19, City Hall is closed to the public. However, the city requests the public to call or email comments and or questions to 407-554-7118 or citizens@ocoee.org. Now, is that on now, Melody?
Yes.
All right, do we need to wait before we start? City Attorney?
Yeah, I guess we don't have anything else. We do have one public comment. Do we need to read that in?
It's on the dais in front of everyone.
It is?
It's the last,
Underneath?
yes.
All right. All right. Let's see. You want to read it, Commissioner Oliver? Is this from you?
Yeah, can we defer this to the end?
Huh?
Can we defer this to the end?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
All right. Let's see. All right. Presentations, we have none. Proclamations, none. Staff report.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple. There's an emergency item on the dais in front of you for the approval of the First Amendment to the interlocal agreement between Orange County and the City of Ocoee for the improvements at Fuller's Cross Road and Ocoee-Apopka. And we've had some discussions with the county over the past few weeks, and they have agreed to fund the additional difference from our original, $1.2 million project to $2.2 million project. So we have to amend the agreement to change the prices and what they're willing to reimburse us for. And that is what's in front of you tonight. I think we're all pretty familiar with what this is going to do, and we can move it forward, but we will need to have a vote on it. If there's any questions, be happy to take those.
All right. Anybody have any questions? I think we've been waiting long enough.
Yeah, I have a question.
All right.
In the, as we go forth down the agenda item, it's gonna read 1.4 million of additional appropriation. Is that the same as this?
Yeah, the original, I think, we had a couple of different estimates. I think the original we estimated 700,000 or 750,000. So the additional 1.4, which also will show up in the budget amendment tonight. So 700 additional from the county, 700 additional from city impact funds. Because I believe it was originally, the anticipated cost was $700,000 with a 50/50
So it's around $1
split.
million a piece.
About 1 to 1.1 each.
Okay, so now I'm not understanding what the additional 1.4, what is the additional 0.3 million for, the 300,000 for?
Are you looking at the financial impact?
No, I'm actually looking at, it's gonna be item 5, the second to the last point in the second paragraph.
Is that the budget amendment?
That's the budget amendment.
Okay. Rebecca, can you address that, please?
In order for the city to engage in a contract with any particular vendor, the city has to budget the full amount of the contract. So in order for us to enter into the agreement, we have to have on the budget 2.1 million. We will be reimbursed for half of the 2.1, but in order to get there, we have to have a budget line that says $2.1 million. Does that make sense?
The city will
the
be
ex-
taking a lead in this, so the city will be completing the project, paying the bills, and then the county will be reimbursing the city for the project. So there's additional 1.4 you're seeing, Commissioner. There's a $700,000 check from the county attached to that coming back to us.
Our expenditure line, in order to legally commit funds, has to say a total of 2.1.
Right, I get that.
At the end of the contract, at the end of the project, when we get reimbursed, it'll go back into our revenues. However, we can't legally enter a contract that we have not budgeted and committed the funds in order to enter that contract. So we have to do that here.
Okay, so, because I'm looking at just sheer numbers, and I'm looking at 2.1, which half of that is 1.05. But we're looking at 1.1 and or 1.4, but the 1.4 minus the 700,000.
We have 700,000 already budgeted. The commission's already approved 700,000.
Gotcha.
So in order to get to 2.1, we have to approve another $1.4 million to be budgeted. That gets us to the 2.
So out of the 700,000, the county would be paying us 350. Out of the 1.4, the county will be paying us 700.
So then total, give us the total. The total the county will pay us is
1.05 to 1.1.
1.05 something back. So we end up paying one something.
Correct. We end
But
up paying-
face it, being the holder of the contract, we have to, it comes out of us up front, the county pays us.
Correct.
Believe me, I don't want to let the county get away with not paying it.
The interlocal serves as the agreement, the contractual obligation for them to pay us back. This is our statutorial obligation to commit the funds before entering
Right,
the
for the
contract.
line items
For the line
for
item,
GAAP.
right.
Okay, I get that. I'm just, because the figures were different. One was 1.4 and one was 1.1, and there was no explanation of the
Yeah,
700,000 or whatever.
that's
Okay.
the difference.
Okay. That's all I had.
All right, anybody else have any more comments? If not, I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by Commissioner Wilson for the amended item on the public works for the Ocoee Poplar Road. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Brinson. Any more comments? No more comments. Let's vote.
Yes.
Aye. Well, aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye. Yeah. All you ones sitting there.
The one sitting on the floor.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you, Mayor. One more thing. We have in front of you a proposed news release, which is what we want to do. We're talking about, as a group, when the businesses start opening up again, I guess some of them have already done it today, coming up with a program that would assist some of them, which might be a little contrary to some of our codes. So what we want to do is just get a consensus on this. These are some of the relaxations that we can put in the city code in order to let the restaurants maybe use some of their parking areas for tables. If they want to put tents up or something like that to increase their dining space, they would still have to come in and get a permit from us. And we wouldn't be charging for those permits. I'm pretty sure it says that on there. But just to allow a lot more flexibility to help the businesses out. We anticipate, we could continue this on until the whole virus issue is behind us. But just wanted you to see this. We haven't sent this out yet, so everyone knows. If someone calls in and says, they're not supposed to be doing that, we all know we're relaxing some of the regulations as far as zoning and using, tables on sidewalks, and they're able to use some of their parking area. If the code says they have to have 12 spaces and they want to use 6 of those spaces to put tables out there because of the decreased business, everything should be fine. So we wanted to share that with you, just to show you staff is thinking of ways that will assist them. We had also talked possibly not being so rigorous in enforcing the sign code. This isn't on this memo, But if some of the businesses that are opening, we know a lot of them aren't going to open, but if someone want to put a sandwich board sign out by the road or something to say, yes, we're open, and they're one of the few businesses open in a plaza, probably, as long as it's done tastefully and there's no, it's not infringing on, covering up something else, some other type of advertisement, we'll probably look favorably upon that. Just kind of do anything we can do in order for them to show that they're open and to help them get some business.
All right.
And this is one step of it here.
Yeah. Any comments?
I think it's positive.
I think you gotta be forward and positive with this. Let us move forward and let them try to get things going. Some of these people are having a hard time, getting back at it, so I think it's great. Anybody else? Was consensus good enough for this?
Yeah.
Do we-
Yeah, so this is to authorize the city manager to take whatever steps are reasonable for relaxing.
Do you need to vote
outdoor
on it,
dining.
or does this
I
go
think
under that
consensus is
executive
fine.
order? Huh?
I think consensus is fine.
All right, everybody okay with that?
Yep. Thumbs up on this end.
All right,
And just real briefly, Mayor, I said I had two things. I just wanted to share with the commission. We had our weekly call with staff yesterday, and the mayor was on the call. And one of the things we talked about was opening on a limited basis City Hall. So next week, we've got a subcommittee / task force right now, kind of deciding how we can do that and stay safe out here. The way our lobby is configured, you really can't have two people walk by each other in some places. So we're thinking of possibly having the entrance along the portico down there, and they can come in. We can have lines every 6 feet and have people come in the lobby and actually use this door here and put some of those airline type directive type things that would bring people down here, and when we're not using this room, they can go out this door. So one way in, one way out, keep people from brushing against each other as they're trying to get by the utility counter and that type of thing. So what we're talking about is we'll come up with a plan, and we'll share that with you all, a limited opening to let certain people in to do utility bills and permitting. And we're talking about human resources, that even there's more issues over in human resources. There's even a smaller waiting room over there, and you can't really have more than one person in at a time. So just to let you know, we are looking at that. We do want to ramp up some services here and get the public in here in a limited way. We want to make sure before we do that, all the departments have masks, gloves if they need them, make sure they have all their disinfecting supplies and wipes and that type of thing. So we're shooting for Monday to have a soft opening, just to let some people in for some of those things that they haven't been able to do at City Hall over the last month and a half.
all right,
Thank you. That was all I had, Mayor.
all right. Commissioners' announcements. Commissioner Fershner.
Just thank you for the work Public Works and the contractors doing down on the McGuire Road and the median. Looks very good. It's all being refreshed and brightened up, and it's gonna be a great job once it's done. That's all.
Commissioner Wilson.
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Brenson.
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Oliver.
Yeah, just a quick thought. Just wondering, have we given any thought to, based on this COVID-19 and the restraints that it's put on City Halls, put on all of us, to meet and get information out, have we given any thought to those that don't have internet access or social media access? How do we get this information to those folks that just don't have that information because they can't walk in the door and sit in the meeting? Have we given that any thought, or is that something that we looked at, or I'm sure someone's probably thought about it, but we just haven't really implemented anything?
Well, we tried to, Commissioner, we tried to duplicate on the TV channel, and yes, there might be some people that don't have cable also, but that was one of the reasons why we wanted to try to get City Hall up and running again, so if they wanted to come in and get some of that information. As hard as we tried, we noticed there were still a lot of people walking up here with their utility bills and trying to pay, and we did, we pointed them to the boxes. We put a new box in the lobby, but, we're open to any suggestions that you all have. Like I said, we are shooting for Monday to have limited access to City Hall, and all those materials will be here, but, we'd be receptive if you have any other ideas.
You post our responses from the fire and the county notices on all the park areas, and it is on the front door. So I think it's also, we put it in different places in the news channel too, but also we could put it in the paper, I guess. People get that free, so there's not much else to do unless they're on computer.
Just thinking maybe perhaps it's a good idea, maybe posting a notice in the paper, say if you need information, if you want to see this information that we're putting out, you can actually come to City Hall and actually go through the vestibule there to be able to gather that information because it's there.
Well, excuse me, I want to say, when you get through, I want to say something.
Oh, so just looking at it along those lines, just something to put out there, at least to get the ball going, or at least start thinking about those kind of things. And it's not something we're gonna be doing permanently, but it's something that we'll be doing for now. But who knows in the future? You know, who knows? It may be COVID-20, so at least we'll be prepared, and we'll be. That's one of the issues we don't have to worry about.
I was just sitting there thinking, if anybody's at home, they have a radio or TV, they are getting the information. I mean, it is constantly on there. So I don't know if anybody wouldn't get it. I mean, most people, I would not think there's not somebody that has a TV or the neighbor has a thing or somebody. It's also extra, we say we can post it in the paper, but we get the report from the county, and then our fire department is running the advice thing through Rob. So I think, like I said, if you're not getting it, it's hard to believe.
Well, my thought is not necessarily information about COVID-19. It's information about what we're doing here for City Hall and the diocese, the ordinances that we're passing, the different things that's coming up on our agenda. All these items right here that's not posted on the radio, that's not in the newspaper. But again, just to let the citizens know that where they can come to get this information, because they can't come sit in here and hear it for themselves if they don't have internet access or if they're not with Spectrum. So there are people that don't have Spectrum. Again, I didn't have Spectrum up until a year ago. I used an antenna, and I didn't get any of those channels. So if I didn't have internet access, I wouldn't have gotten anything.
Just to understand, Commissioner, are you saying, because we come up with the outline after the meeting, and Melanie, correct me if I'm wrong, that's posted in the lobby?
Yeah.
Correct.
So is that what you're asking, just to let people know that
just let
that
people know
stuff
where
is?
they can get this information.
Yeah, and I guess that could be done, there'd be a cost though, and Melanie would probably know what that cost would be to put something that size in the newspaper.
We do actually, for the public hearings and the items that do have to be advertised, we have been putting in those ads that you can call. We've been putting the email with the comments and the call-in. So items that are a public hearing are on there. The consent items are not advertised, but you're just saying to put in information.
Just makes it how to get this information. Believe it or not, there's actually citizens that just don't know how to get this information. They see City Hall's closed, and they don't think they can come and get any information. But if we just had some way to say, hey, you can come get an agenda, you can get the minutes, you can get the anything that we talk about up here, you can actually come and pick this stuff up the day after the meeting, or just something that simple.
Yeah, I mean, we can put something in the West Orange Times that just says, agendas can be, picked up in the vestibule located at 150, North Lake Shore. That's not.
Agendas, minutes, and
yes.
future meetings. I just think they're probably more expensive if you go to the Orlando Sentinel than we would think. What would it typically?
Yeah,
do we even use the Sentinel anymore? Do we put everything in the West Orange
We
Times?
do the West Orange
West Orange
Times. The
Times.
Yeah.
Sentinel is very expensive to run an ad.
Why can't it be posted on the water bill? I mean, a very
Or
small
we can put
print,
it
it
in
goes
the
out.
Well, depending on, and we do
Unless
that all the
there's
time,
something-
but depending on when the next cycle is, if we wanted to put something in the next water bill, it's probably too late for the May bill already.
Right,
so.
but if it's not gonna cost, I mean, we're gonna see a drop in sales tax. I mean, we're gonna see a drop in things going on, that we're gonna start spending money, that we have an avenue within our departments to do that. And I mean, most of us, I shouldn't say, I know that everything is posted out in, what do we call that? It's not the vestibule, but it's the,
It's close
Corey,
enough.
yeah. That it's all posted on the wall, all the public
And
notices.
Most
and-
residents will call our office if they
But-
want a copy of anything, and we will send it to them by email, or, if they needed to pick it up, we can always put it in the vestibule for them as
Yeah,
well to
and
pick up.
just so the commission knows, and maybe it's a good point that this is brought up, all those phones are still being, even though we're doing this, 50% staffing at a time, City clerk's phones are still being answered. The main switchboard is still being answered, and community relations. So those calls are still being answered, and those people are being assisted. Just in case that wasn't clear, they are.
Yeah, the whole goal is just to be able to cover those citizens that just don't have internet access or don't have Spectrum TV.
Yeah. No,
Just let them know where they can get it.
I don't know that the West Orange Times is the one to do it, though, because I don't know many people that actually
don't
would be
know.
looking at the
Yeah.
classifieds in there, so I'm not sure that that would help too much, the West Orange Times.
All right,
Just food for thought.
all right.
Okay.
You done?
Yes.
All right. I'll save my announcements. I don't have any others right now, so let's move on to public comments. We wait 3 minutes.
No, I think we've waited our 3 minutes. We don't have anything, Melanie?
All right. Nobody called in, nobody emailed in?
Nope, I did not get any text saying if we had a message, and I don't see any emails, so we're good.
All right. Consent agenda. Need a motion.
I'd like to pull item number 3, just for discussion only.
Anybody else for anything to pull?
Item 5.
Why don't we
Is that
just-
on consent?
Item 5 is not
That's
on the
that's the
consent.
Okay, that's the second reading.
Huh?
That's the second reading. Okay.
Yeah, there'll be a presentation on item 5, Commissioner.
Wait a minute, Rob, let me vote on the regular 1 and 2 and, 1, 2, and, that's it, 1 and 2.
I'll make that motion to approve consent agenda items 1 and 2.
I would, motion made by Commissioner Wilson to approve item 1 and 2. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Branson. I would, before we vote, I would say once again, Thursdays, we're supposed to get this. It would behoove everybody that has questions for a consent agenda to call city manager's office and see if they can get the information if they want to ask about it. And that's one of the reasons consent agenda's always been there. If not, we don't even need to have consent agenda. I mean, the consent thing anymore. Everybody seems to pull all of them. But if you would call on Thursday or Friday, get the information, then we wouldn't have to do this. All right, item number 3. Go ahead, Rob.
Were you going to vote on the
No,
first two?
let's vote. Speaking said aye.
Aye.
No nays, motion carries. All right, Rob.
Commissioner, you have questions on?
Item number 3, again, sometimes we pull these consent agenda items, not for me, and not for anyone up here, but for the people that are watching on TV, or the people that don't know what's going on. Sometimes we pull those consent agenda items to allow them to know what's going on. So I think that it's healthy for us to be able to do those things, not only for us, because we have access to the city manager, or to the assistant city manager and the city planner to ask, or the finance director to ask those questions. However, the average citizen does not have that access.
Well, that is why I said
So-
we'll add it to the agenda.
So therefore, that's why I ask some of these questions, even though I may know some of the answers, but I do ask them, not just for me, but for those out there watching on TV. Now, one of the questions I do have about item number 3, which is, I wanted to know, I want to make sure that my math was right. When we look at those items that we're going to, the lease agreement between the city and the auction, and we look at it, it's for a total of 6 months, is that correct?
Well, it is, and then it can continue on a month-to-month basis. What we didn't want to do was, without taking an official action of the ordinance, this is allowable. We've done it for a lot of businesses, and it's just not something that we would want to just go ahead and do the lease and have it for year to year. So we figured, okay, so there's the COVID-19 crisis going on. It helps them, it helps us. We're losing a lot of revenues. So I think between all staff and the city attorney, without us getting into the leasing business, which we probably really shouldn't be in, except for, you know, these strange times, we figured a 6-month term with individual months to continue on until the market changed. And they may only want to do it for 6 months. They may want to do it for up to a year. We won't know probably for several more months yet what the type of impact we're going to take from municipal revenue sharing, sales tax, gas tax, all those hits too. So the way we looked at it, if we can put $20,000 per month into the city coffers, well, we probably want to do that as long as we can.
My numbers come to about 20,000 a month as
Yeah.
well. On one, it's actually about 25,000. It's actually two different.
Yeah, it's not going to
agreements.
be all at once though. That's just it. They're
Yeah.
going to ramp up.
And I think this is a good thing. And the reason I pulled it, we didn't pull it to have any negative discussion. It was actually a positive discussion I want to have about this, because this just shows some of the things that we're doing to help the businesses in Ocoee and team up and partner with the city, and we come up with solutions to help one another out. So I think that if the numbers are correct, it comes out over the 6-month period for right now, this agreement comes out to about $150,000 over 6 months that we'll be bringing into the city.
That sounds right.
And I think that's a great thing. What are some of the anticipated revenue losses that we may have due to COVID-19 in the city?
Well, that's what I just said. I think it's going to take another few months, and correct me if you don't agree with me. I know some of the stuff I've been reading lately, sales tax decreases of 25% they're anticipating for the month of April, which I don't, or April or May, I'm not sure. I would just, if I had to throw out a wild guess, I would say a couple of $1 million hit for us this year, maybe more. Looking at our different revenue streams and figuring a 10 to 20% reduction in some of those. So it's not going to be fun. It's it's not going to be something that we can use petty cash to cover. So we may have a tight budget year next year. I don't anticipate any layoffs or anything like that. We may have to look at certain things like raises next year and hiring additional bodies, and maybe there's a couple of general fund projects that we could put off for another year until we start balancing the budget a little easier. But and feel free, Rebecca, if you want to jump in, but I think it could be a couple of $1 million.
About a couple $1 million.
And if it's less than
Don't
that, I
impact.
think we got off pretty well.
Yeah, I think also, with that being said, just looking at that number, the question went out last meeting as to, are we going to reach out to the county for some of that money that they're bringing in?
Yeah, and the county, which I read, they're getting like $223 million, and we're kind of falling into this category. We're not a city or a county of 500,000, and right up until the time I came down to this meeting, there were still additional guidance coming from National League of Cities and those types of things, and they're lobbying the federal government. So what happens to the smaller cities? It's kind of like, I've seen a lot of grant programs specific to certain projects you may be doing or something like that, but I've not yet seen, and perhaps Becky, if you have, that there's a formula out there that cities less than $500,000 are going to get a certain amount of money. So what the federal government has done to the 500,000 or more population counties is sent them a check based on what the state is going to get. They deduct that from what the state gets. So the state will still have a pile of money. The county will still have a pile of money. And I think one of the emails that just came in before I came down here was what the county plans to do with it. So I can digest all that information and maybe send a memo to you all showing what the county believes they're going to do. And we may or may not like it. I just didn't get a chance to read it. Yes, sir.
I'd like to comment on that. One of the things we got to look at is what we've done for the last 4 or 5 years, 6 years. The money process and the money come into the city through the impact fees, through the building that's going on, will help us stabilize what we were going to lose in the sales tax. The sales tax is a small portion of what we have to look at, to me, is because of the building. The building part, if it gets cut, when they stop building the houses, that's where we're going to lose the value of the taxes in the future. Next year, the sales tax will come into the next part of next year. That $2 million, I think, I was talking to somebody, their city's $3 million. But once again, we've stuck a lot of money back in reserves for that purpose. So we're not going to be in the same condition a lot of cities are in. If you go back and look at the finance, and I know she can probably tell you, but I've watched it over the years, and we've added a lot more money, way more than any other city has in the reserves to cover any kind of thing like this. And that's where we're in way better shape with what's going on with the building, and they're still building. I don't know about you guys, I get the thing where they're pouring concrete and all the things in the building foundations and everything else, so that's still going, and we're still getting the impact fee credits and all that, so. And that's another thing I wanna ask, is that money for the million, why can we not take it out of the impact fee
We can.
for that road thing up on Fuller's Crossroad?
We can. The part
We
of
have-
that,
we
and
have impact
and I don't
fee
know if
money.
we've determined that yet, Rebecca. The portion specifically going to adding additional capacity absolutely can come out of transportation
Yeah.
impact fee funds. There's $300,000 or $400,000 that were there from the Chevron property, specifically designated to
Right.
that,
That's what
intersection.
I'm saying.
That's
So
going there, so.
That's part of where we can get some of that money back to add back. But I just wanna tell you that our revenue in the last 4 or 5 years has gone up. Our building has gone out of sight. If you go to our building department right now, permit department, they're still blazing the trail out there. So
Yeah.
I don't wanna preach no doom and gloom to nobody, and I don't wanna talk about tax raises, cause I think we're gonna be able to be in great shape.
Yeah, I agree, Mayor.
Our citizens ain't gonna be able to afford us to go out and tell them, we wanna put a tax on them.
Yeah, I don't think you have to worry about a tax increase. I
I
think
think-
this is exactly
Yeah.
what we were saving our reserves
Yeah.
for, something like this, and.
You might not be able to
And,
get
you know,
Cadillac
and this
again
is one of the reasons why I pulled this is one of the reasons I pulled this consent agenda item, because I knew it would actually spark some very good conversation that citizens want to know as far as where we are financially, and they don't have to really worry about a gloom and doom story about millage rates and taxes going up.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I let them know all the time. I'm on Facebook Live, I'm on Facebook, I tell them about everything, and I'm gonna keep telling them. But I'm just saying, I want the citizens not to, there's enough problems right now they've got on their shoulders.
I don't think I know how to present a budget to you with a tax increase anyways.
That's
Mayor,
right,
so it's
good.
like, Never,
All right.
never done.
I now compliment our finance department and Rob and them for what they've done and our staff, because we are in one of the better cities, and if you go check all the other cities, and I meet with all the mayors, our reserves are better than anybody that you'll find. And I think Becky probably took finance.
And our bond rating too, our bond rating.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying, and we don't really blow the money, you know, so that's been a good thing. We've been a tight financial reporting for the last few years, and that's good. Okay, so,
Good, we can put it back
can
in.
we vote now?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I need a motion. Do we need to separate the lease agreements for each one of them?
Let's just do a motion to approve both license agreements.
All right, I need a motion to do both lease agreements.
I'll make a motion to approve both license agreements.
All right, motion been made by Commissioner Oliver. Do I hear a second?
I'll st-
Seconded by Commissioner First. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right.
Good conversation.
First reading of public hearing again. Do we need to wait this time, 3 minutes? City Attorney?
We will for the second one, the second reading. So let me go ahead and just read the title to the first reading. Maybe that'll take 3 minutes, and then if anyone has any comments
Okay, all right.
by the time we get to the second
All
one.
right.
All right, so this is the first reading of the ordinance to amend Chapter 51. An ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Florida, amending Chapter 51 of the City of Ocoee Code of Ordinances, creating a new Section 128.1 to address the use of private providers for plan review and building inspection services, establishing permit fees and an administrative fee where a private provider is utilized, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
All right, that's the first reading of ordinance, which will come back on June the 2nd for the second reading. If anybody has any comments or anything like that, be ready on June the 2nd for item number 4, for the first reading of ordinance to amend Chapter 51 of the City Code of Ordinances to enact fees pertaining to private providers for building plan reviews and inspections. All right, item number 5, or is that? Yeah, second reading of ordinance for fiscal year 2020 budget amendment. You got something to read?
Yep, this is an ordinance of the City of Ocoee, Orange County, Florida, relating to the city budget, amending the city budget adopted by ordinance 2019-026 for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2019 and ending September 30th, 2020 by providing for increase of appropriations, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
All right. We need to open it up for a public
We have staff report.
staff report first. Finance Director.
I won't read verbatim unless you would like me to, but we met as a group of directors with the city manager and assistant city manager about a month ago and reviewed where we were financially and some of the projects and programs that were in front of us and whether or not we had sufficient funding within the current budget. And several things stuck out to us, namely the police vehicles that we were not able to acquire timely before they shut down production. So we had to look for alternative police vehicles. Those vehicles cost more than we had originally presented to commission. So we need an additional $47,000 for those costs of sending certified letters. While the cost of sending the letter hasn't increased, fewer people are paying their fees timely, so we are required to send them out certified, so the number of those are increasing. General government requires about 115 for COVID supplies. We estimated that number. We're probably very close to that number now. We are tracking those costs, so if there's any opportunity to be reimbursed for those costs from FEMA, we will apply for reimbursement, but we need those funds to be available in the budget in order to pay for those supplies. We have done a good job, and we are purchasing more supplies, as Mr. Frank mentioned earlier in this conversation. HVAC systems, as systems age, they have to be replaced. Unfortunately, a couple of systems failed for us recently, and in order to get those properly repaired, we need to add an additional $40,000 into the budget for that. The big number is the $13 million that we anticipate needing to complete City Hall. I'm sure there's been some other conversation. We will fund that through an additional bond offering. I am currently in conversation with our financial advisor, what is the best way and the best timing for issuing a bond or floating a loan. So we're asking for the additional funding to start the construction of the new City Hall. And the 1.4 additional for the Fuller's Cross intersection project that we talked about earlier. There's another 500 in here for the sanitation fund. As we recall, the sanitation fund was supposed to be turned over to the private provider earlier than we have been able to do so. Because it was not turned over at the time we expected, we have incurred additional costs that had not been budgeted for. We're estimating that to be about $500,000. If the fund does not need the entire $500,000 to sustain it, to make sure that that budget is balanced, as we are required to do, the remaining funds will be returned to the general fund. I'll be bringing that back to you probably following the end of the year to let you know what we were able to return to general fund. The Dodge Chargers. Those are the primary issues on the staff report, the primary items. I'm willing to take questions if you have any particular.
All right, commissioners, anybody have any questions?
I have a few. Let me start at the top here. The first item you have there, which is the $103,000.
Yes.
Is that figure correct, $103,000?
That is the figure that Chief Brown estimates it will take in order to send out the certified mailings for the rest of this fiscal year.
Did he come up with a number of mailings? Because that's a lot of mailings.
That is a lot of mailings, but certified mail is actually rather expensive, and they have been writing several more citations. But I don't have that number in front of me. If you'd like for me to send that to you tomorrow in an email, I can do that.
Yeah, I definitely would, because certified mail goes from anywhere between $350 and $650 per letter. And if I take the number $6.50 per letter, that's closing in on 18,000 mailings. That's a lot.
That's a lot, but we are.
For a city this size.
And we are required. We would not choose to send them certified if we didn't have to send them certified.
Right, but I'm saying, are we sending out 17,000 mailings to red, I mean, do we have that many red light violators?
We do. We do.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, like I said, I'd like to see it too.
Okay, I'll get those numbers for you and send them in an
Yeah,
email.
it does sound like a good question, because now that I'm hearing it too, it does sound like a
sounds
high number.
astronomical,
Yeah,
but
it-
we-
See
it
what
does
else
seem
they
like a
put
high
in
number.
there.
Pardon me?
Just see what else they put in it.
Yeah.
If we can get a breakdown on what that 103 covers.
Yeah, we'll cover that.
I
We'll
will
make
put
sure,
that over
because
for you.
now that you mentioned it, like I said, Commissioner, it does sound like a high number, and,
Can I piggyback on that real quick? I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
It would.
On this $103,000 to cover the certified mailing, I read through, took me a couple of days, I read through the Florida statutes, 316, 74, 75, 83, and 14, that talks about red light cameras and talks about how they're notified, notifications for red light camera runners, the fines, and I could not find anything that says it has to be certified mail. I read through all the statutes, and maybe I missed something. Maybe we
it
can go
might
back through
not,
that.
it might not be a state statute, it might be something the local circuit has decided if you don't want them challenged, because a lot of times, especially down in South Florida, they were coming in, they were dismissing them all, because the people would say, I never got anything in the mail. So I know there's certain things that we've had to incorporate in our program since we started in 2010 that were to mollify the judges in the circuit, where they would accept those and not automatically give the benefit of the doubt to the violator.
Right now, the county
So that-
and
that
the
might
cities
be. I'm
around
not
us,
saying-
they're not sending out certified letters to the red light runners, the violators. The city of Orlando does not do that. Well, they just stop, period.
Yeah.
So I haven't found any municipality
We-
around
we
us
can
that's
get that
sending out
answer for
certified
you.
letters right now.
And if it's not required, we can certainly make sure that there's a good business reason to be doing it.
I even read the Florida Civil Procedures for, I read the book, I was looking for civil procedures that
Yeah, I think it'd
requires
probably be in
certified
some
letters.
type of administrative
I couldn't find
procedure.
anything that pertaining to red light runners or the violation of red light cameras, that they have to have a certified letter.
I'm sure the chief can provide you the citation for that, and we'll make sure that's a requirement. I'm fairly certain it is. If it isn't, and we don't need to do that.
Yeah, because if it's
we
not a
can-
requirement, then we could send out regular mail, and that number would probably decrease quite a bit.
Absolutely, it would.
You know, the only thing certified letters to do for you is certify they got it. I'm telling you. But that's, if you don't want them to know that, if you say they sent it to them, they don't want it to go, it's just, they ain't gonna answer. You know, I delivered a lot of certified letters in my day. There's two type, receipt, received, and you can
Yeah, and
sign
I
them.
think
Those
that
things-
was the issue, Mayor, and as soon as they got to court and they said they never
I
got it, the
don't
judge
get it.
just
Yeah, I don't
dismissed
get
it,
it.
so.
I know a lot of people's done that for the voting, you know, for the judge, oh, I didn't get no letter.
Yeah, so if we can get that.
I'd still like to see it too.
Yeah.
I will get that for you first thing tomorrow morning. I'll reach out to Chief
Can
Brown.
we, is there any way we can pull that item then? Because I don't feel comfortable voting for this, knowing that that number may not be correct.
Mr. Oliver, if we pull this out of this, we'll have to come back for 2 additional readings
I
in
don't-
order to get $103,000.
Well, then I have a problem with that then, because again, we're trying to balance something, we're talking about numbers, and if these numbers are not correct, you're going me to vote on something that I'm not sure about the numbers, then I don't feel comfortable with supporting it. I can't,
Right.
if I just can't.
All right, here's what I would say to it. If we approve this as it is, and it comes back that there's things in there totally not liable to what it is, that money gets refunded back. So we go back out and redraw it out of the budget, or whatever.
Mayor, I could
It has to be a
suggest,
legal way
yeah,
to do
I
that.
could suggest something also. If you wanted to go and approve this, and with the caveat that if it's not required by law, that the police department give you a presentation as to why they think we should be sending certified or why not, and we can make that decision then.
Well, it's not as much, I'm with Commissioner Brunson, it's not as much as what they're requiring, it is so much what they spent. How much? How many people? Is that for 1 year?
This is actually not the total. We do spend quite a bit, and had I known we were going to get this question, I would have brought down
Well,
what we've been spending
All right,
to
here's
date.
what I'm gonna suggest too for something else. I've been thinking about this for a long time. I'm for looking at the red light cameras come budget time again, so, you know, I believe in some of the red light cameras, some of them I don't believe in. I don't believe in the right turn on it. And it's, to me, it's one of the big ones they get people on. So when it comes budget time, I'm gonna be looking, you know, I've been on that thing a long time, and I just think the red light camera turning right on red is a non-issue. But that's another story, I'll deal with that at budget. But I'll vote for this, but if it comes to be that's not, then
And,
how do we subtract that money back?
well, I'm just saying, in order to make Commissioner Oliver feel comfortable, you could attach to the 100, and what is it, 103?
103.
You could attach to that the police department or finance shall give you a breakdown of what that is and whether that is actually required by law. And you guys can have this discussion at the next meeting, if you like, as to,
All right.
you put the funds in the budget, now you always have the right to say,
We can roll
don't
back.
spend
You
those
say
funds.
72 or
okay?
103?
So
It's
actually putting them in the budget and spending them are
103,082.
two different issues.
Gotcha.
The total's 103,082 that we're asking. Yes, you can always pull back on the
What-
budget. You can't add to the budget without hearings.
You
So-
talking about for the police?
Yeah, for the certified letters, it's $103,000.
Where's that at in there?
It's the first line, first
line,
item.
No, it's in the,
It's actually, page,
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm
down.
looking at the
Page 46.
agenda item.
I don't have it.
It's on your agenda right here.
All right. I'd go along with that. I'm like, I want to see that myself.
well, yeah. Look,
All right.
As
So
for,
you want to make that motion the way he said?
well, no,
Or you don't?
no, I don't want to do that. And the reason why is because I don't know if this is a matter of legality or preference for the city of Ocoee. So I don't want to make a motion to say if it's by law, if it's required by law. Because it may be just, that's, the city of Ocoee decides that this is the best way to move forward.
Yeah, and it could be not a law, it could be a decision of the chief judge of the circuit, it could be
Right.
something like
So
that.
I don't want to put by law in there because then we'd be holding to that statement. So I'm not sure what the phrasing could be, maybe the
So
city attorney.
you would make the motion to approve the item subject to the 103,000 line item coming back for the commission with a staff presentation by the police department. And then if at that point you determine that that's not an appropriate expenditure, then we put it back.
That's it. I like
Make
that.
that motion?
Now, I can't repeat what he just said. However, I do make that motion
All right.
for that particular,
That's
Yeah.
about it.
I'll second that motion as well.
You second it?
Yes.
All right, motion made by Commissioner Benson, seconded by Commissioner Oliver. Can you write that up? Make sure you write that.
Yep.
Okay, all right. Any more discussion on it? All right, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
okay.
All opposed?
I'm sorry, Mayor. I just wanted to announce that we did not have any calls or emails come in because public hearing.
That's good. I mean, it's not,
I just have one question. I know we've already voted, but I just have one question. Are we talking about 6 vehicles, 5 vehicles, or 11 vehicles for the police department? Because in one part of it says that the 47,000 is 5 sedans.
Correct.
And then when you get all the way down toward page 46, we talked about the police impact.
That's, yeah, I think it was
And then there's
11
Then
total.
it mentions six vehicles.
So we're asking for 47,000 for 5 vehicles that were supposed to be sedans, but now they're Dodge Durangos, if you approve this item. The police department actually was purchasing more vehicles, some out of general fund dollars, some out of police impact fee. I believe there are 6 that are coming out of police impact fee dollars this
So
year.
it's a total of 11 vehicles?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's where I got a little confused. I need to know how many vehicles we're actually purchasing. Okay. Gotcha.
motion
there-
carried unanimously.
Okay, more questions here. The fund, they ask for $61,000, is it 61,000, where am I?
I can't,
For salaries. Did you speak to that?
For salary, sir?
Yes. You know what I'm talking about?
I couldn't hear what he said. What
Oh,
did
I'm-
he say?
I'm- Well, I'm looking for it because I have here the 13 million for the building fund, that's understood, from the general fund, that's understood. Fuller's Cross, that's understood. Maybe I think that's it. That's
Are you
it.
talking about the breakdown?
Oh, wait, yes, the breakdown, I'm sorry. In the budget breakdown. I'm looking in the budget breakdown.
Okay,
You see what I'm saying? The first line, salaries,
salaries, and we're
Yeah.
asking for additional.
$61,000.
And I apologize, I don't have that in front of me, but it's more than likely you're looking at Fund 103, which is sanitation. We did not have enough in that line item in order to pay the salaries for this year because we anticipated those employees in that fund would be being paid by the vendor or being paid by another fund within the city. So we did not budget for their salaries for the entire year, so we needed to be able to cover their salaries.
Okay.
Would that cover from January to April, that, what we're talking about, that gap in time?
Yes, that
Okay.
gap in time.
Okay. I knew I had it in there. That's all I have.
That's all?
All right, now we're down to regular agenda. Staff action, housing, Rob.
I have nothing additional, Mayor.
All right, comments from citizens or public? We gotta wait 3 more minutes?
No, I think we have just the one item we received
Do that
before the
out
meeting.
now.
Let me read it.
Go ahead.
I received a email from citizen, Ms. Melissa Myers, concerning one of our Ocoee High School students that passed away last week by the name of Dexter Rentz. And I don't know if you heard about it or not, but it's been all over CNN, ESPN, and Orlando Sentinel's covered it, and some of the local stations covered it. So she actually wrote a statement and asked that we read this statement be read to the commission. And her statement reads as follows: I come to the city of Ocoee with a heavy heart as I mourn the loss of one of our very own. Dexter Rentz Jr., football player, Ocoee High School, lost his life in a senseless act of violence where he was caught in a crossfire of bullets as he was leaving from visiting his grandfather. Earlier that day, he had attended a funeral. Dexter wasn't an ordinary football player. In 2017, he tied the Florida State record for 5 interceptions in one game. His skills on the field brought Ocoee High School fans together and made the game exciting to watch as he broke through tackles and caught footballs, bringing in numerous touchdowns. Dexter dedicated his life to football as he continuously trained and thrived to be one of the best. And guess what? He definitely was one of the best. Off the field, he spoke to the youth in his spare time. He grabbed the hearts of many with his smile that would brighten up your day, all while maintaining high academics. Dexter had accomplished a full scholarship with Louisville, along with the likes of numerous sports reporters following him, such as the Orlando Sentinel and ESPN, just to name a few. He was disdained for greatness. He was destined for greatness. So great where Shaquille O'Neal has offered to pay his funeral expenses. Dexter made the Ocoee community proud. He represented our city well, as many of us love Dexter, like he was one of our very own sons. I asked the city of Ocoee to somehow recognize one of our own. I asked the city of Ocoee to honor Dexter as he brought positivity and a great example on what leadership looks like. I am open to having a meeting and coming up with ideas where his legacy and his hard work will not be forgotten. I thank you for your consideration for honoring one of our very own, Miss Melissa Myers, Ocoee homeowner and community partner.
Is this your lady you with?
Yeah, she sent this to me, this information yesterday. There was a lot of news articles about this senseless killing. As the young man was visiting his grandfather, he was walking out of the house and got caught in, I guess, a crossfire between some gangs or something that was shooting at one another, and he lost his life. The coach for Louisville did make some comments on ESPN last week that it's going to be a great loss. And once they get back on the field, they will be dedicating, there'll be some type of dedication to this kid who never set foot on their field, but he had spent lots of time with them, with Dexter, and he knew what kind of kid he was. So he made that much of an impact with him as well. And I guess as one of the citizens and being one of our own youth, wanted to do something. My thoughts was that this would be something great for maybe the Ocoee Youth Council to look at and weigh in on, because it was one of their own. It was one of their classmates. So maybe that some ideas come from the youth council.
I think it would be a great thing for the school and that youth council to work with the school to come up with something for out there at the school.
Yep.
Where did he live at?
He lived in Ocoee. I'm not sure exactly where, what district he lived in,
Yeah, I
but
watched
he
him play.
lived in Ocoee.
Good ball player.
He was a good
But
player.
I would say, I would like you need to tell her to get a hold of, I haven't heard from any of them, but, since I wrote that young lady a letter, but, and asked them to work with, of course, I don't know how you're gonna do that with the school out right now. It won't be back till September.
They probably have to have a Zoom
Maybe
meeting or
August.
something.
So,
Skype.
maybe if she could send a letter to the youth council and see if they
Yeah.
can.
I
do something.
already forwarded to the
I think they
coordinator
ought to
already.
do some kind of recognize him out there with his jersey, and
Yeah.
maybe a thing to hang up. No, he was a good ball player. It's a terrible shame. A lot of young people lose their lives. Ugh, terrible. Appreciate it. I think, is that okay, consensus with everybody for
That
them
sounds
to
like
work with
great.
the youth council?
Yeah.
Great
Come
idea.
up with something.
They get with the school board.
I mean, we need to do a proclamation too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Louisville's a good team too.
I work with youth council, and I've already passed information on, and
All right,
whatever they come back with,
all right,
they'll provide that information to us.
okay. All right, so you got anything else?
Oh,
I'll go ahead and let you.
let me finish up. Okay, just a couple announcements. One of the things I've noticed over the past few weeks is the mosquitoes are back. So again, that means Zika virus is still out there, and I want people to be mindful that they need to put on mosquito repellent as they're out walking and jogging, bike riding throughout the day. Also, some of the calls that I receive a lot of these calls, believe it or not. People want to know about mosquito control, and they think that the city is actually responsible for that. We're not responsible for that. So what I usually do is I open up a ticket with Orange County Mosquito Control. If you're interested in getting your house and your neighborhood sprayed, which I've had several neighborhoods sprayed throughout the past few weeks, you can call Orange County Mosquito Control at 407-254-9120. That's Orange County Mosquito Control at 407-254-9120. So I've had about 4 neighborhoods sprayed over the past few weeks as I just kind of just vetting calls
Yeah, I
as they
call
came
Steve
in.
Krug.
Yeah.
Steve calls him.
And they're pretty responsive. They come out pretty quick. You call one day, they're out the next day or 2 days later. Also, another thing is, since we're all out riding bicycles, we're jogging, we're walking. Some people are doing it late in the afternoon, so it's getting dark, and when it gets dark, 8:30, 9 o'clock, I still see people out there. So what I've been doing is, I usually, on every Sunday, I ride through my district, every Sunday, during the daytime. Lately, I've been riding at night, and what I've been doing, I've been noticing a lot of neighborhoods with outages and their streetlights are out. A few of them I have called in myself, but the rest of them I've been trying to reach out to the HOA presidents to let them know how to contact Duke Energy to actually do this. It's a pretty easy procedure to get online. You can do it online. You can go to dukeenergy.com, click on outages, and actually give the street, give an address, and they'll come out pretty much the next day and actually put up the street lights. So in the interest of safety, we want to make sure that those street lights are in good repair and that they're not out and there are not any opportunities for for crime. So we want to do crime prevention and opportunities that way. Also, I've been noticing a lot of people walking on Ingram Road. Also, I'm sorry, Duke Energy, the phone number to Duke Energy is 800-228-8485. That's 800-228-8485. You can also go to dukeenergy.com, outages, and you can actually click on, put in your address, and they will come out and fix any streetlights that may be out. Ingram Road, I've been noticing people walking to the bike trail, jogging to the bike trail, riding their bicycles to the bike trail. There are no sidewalks on Ingram Road. After you pass, heading south on Ingram Road from McCormick, you may have just a small amount of sidewalk after that to get down to Clarion Ocoee. There is no sidewalk. So be very careful as you're out there riding your bikes, you're jogging, you're walking, and it's getting late, and it's kind of hard to see people. I'm not sure if the developer is required to put a sidewalk there or not, but that's something that I would like the city to look into if they have to put a sidewalk
In front of their
adjacent to their property.
In front of their property, they do. If it's not in front of their property, that's county.
Yeah, so that'd be something I would really like to see if that's something that
I have rode by there and they've got it in front of those new developments. They got sidewalks.
well, Ingram Road has none,
Yeah,
because you
down
have,
by those new houses they got.
developer, if you ride on Ingham Road, the developer is going about maybe a quarter mile to half a mile, and there's nothing there on either side. You got a wooded area, then you have the developer on one side, but there's no,
Is the developer
Sidewalk.
guy?
yeah, I don't know if the developers have no sidewalks.
One guy.
There's no
did.
sidewalks there at all.
We need to look at it because the developer has to put them in when he does his development.
You know, just maybe it's something that the other way, where they may not have to. I'm just wondering,
No, no, they have to.
they have to.
Yeah.
Well, that'd be a good thing if they have to put a sidewalk there. That would probably
In there,
save a lot of people walking in the street.
yeah.
Awesome. And finally, April 23rd, we fed the healthcare heroes at Health Central Hospital. We had over 100 meals that we sent out. It was great. Some of the doctors, nurse practitioners, nurse and healthcare, the healthcare heroes all got fed lunch one day, and just wanted them to know we still think about them, care about you guys, continue the great work. That's it.
All right, Commissioner Brinson.
Okay, safety, safety, safety. That's what I'm preaching today. Not only because of the COVID-19, but also I would encourage everyone to maintain an eagle eye out, because there's a lot more people on the road, whether they're biking, whether they're running, whether they're walking, whether they're exercising. A lot of kids out there, and I see a lot of little kids, if you will, following their parents on bicycles. And sometimes those little kids will dart out into the street. So be extremely cautious when you see them riding, whether they're riding along the side of the road or on the sidewalk, or they still will go out into the street. The other thing is, I had got an email from one of the residents, Ms. Morgan, and she asked this question, which is, if we're gonna open up the restaurants at 25%, why can't we do the same for parks? Because kids are getting restless. And I told her that I'm not sure what the thoughts are for what we're gonna do, but that's something that we're gonna have to address eventually, whether we're gonna follow the state or the county's lead on that issue. So I just wanted to make sure that we're aware, and I probably got 4 or 5 phone calls and text messages as well regarding that same issue of opening them back up the parks. And if we have any goals, basketball goals or tennis nets that are been taken down, they're asking when those going back up. And that's all I have.
Rob, does not the park still go under the county too? Or can we open our own?
Yeah, I talked with Mark and we had that discussion yesterday, and it's kind of what we want to do is kind of mimic what the county is doing. And as of this point, I don't think they were doing too much on the parks. We had talked about the boat ramp. It's probably next Monday, we'll probably move the police cars out from the boat ramp as long as everyone's being safe. I think the majority, and when I see it up at the beach center all the time, a lot of people are in the parks and they're using them anyway. As long as they're being safe and they're in small groups, the police are not harassing them, the parks staff is not harassing them. So I don't know if it's going to be too much different when we quote-unquote open them up, along with the county. There'll just be certain things like the commissioner said, maybe the nets go back on, the basketball hoops, and the cars get moved out in front of the boat ramps. As long as everyone's being safe, that's what we want to see. And we're trying to be nice and suggesting that they, use a safer
Method of exercise,
that they,
recreation.
you know. So we haven't really, at this point, had to do anything except suggest that people use better, you know, distancing measures, and we anticipate that's probably going to continue. But I'm seeing them in all the different parks, as you probably are too. And as long as they're being safe, we're not doing anything about it right now.
Thank you.
You did? Commissioner Wilson?
Yes. To our neighbors on Hawthorne Cove Drive and Lake Olympia, I want to let them know that a baffle box is being installed on Hawthorne Cove Drive. This box will collect debris from Silver Star before it goes into Lake Olympia. Public Works will be using a vacuum system once the baffle box is installed to remove that debris, again, before it reaches the lake. This project has been made possible by Florida Department of Transportation, which very pleased we're seeing this finally happen. I'm very thankful to the residents who are being directly impacted. Again, thank you for your kindness, your patience, because eventually this will make, hopefully, Lake Olympia a cleaner lake.
And you thought it took long to get these projects done in the city. Just get the state involved if you really want to see it long.
It's been challenging, let's just say, and I think the neighbors who have been, they've been great, who are being affected right there on their property. And again, I hope we see a change in Lake Olympia and all the debris that's coming down. It's been a work in progress, and again, I'm thanking everyone who's been involved in it. It just shows good things are happening in District 2. Thank you.
Commissioner Forster? No. All right. Yeah, you brought up the landscaping a while ago. Good job. The day this morning we did the city's staff, the recreation department guys, parks and recreation guys, and thanks to Assistant City Manager Shadrick and what's her
Ginger Quarles.
Ginger and Joy was there. So this morning I went up and was there when they started. I helped give out the bags. They had, I think, about 280 today. So they have some left. They're going to deal with people until they get it. We've had some calls from people that didn't get her today. We told them they'd be there tomorrow. So the ones that got the letter from the city were that fit the description and things for it. So that was real good. People were real thankful. Did a great job. The employees were great. So it worked out and people were smiling and thanked us. So it was good to do that. So, yeah, we had, they came around, but the sewer department came in and they had the parks had it set up with a table and they just pulled right up, ended it in the window. Some lady had, bless her heart, she had this car, she had 4 terriers. Each one of them was in a seat. I said, where am I supposed to put this bag? But she had 4 terriers, every one of them had a nice seat too, boy. Them dogs were riding in style. She said, just sit it down below and they won't bother. So, but they were all well pleased. I'd say they were happy about it. So, and there's a lot of people we couldn't do. We've had few comments. People said, oh, well, you didn't tell us we didn't get it. Well, some people, this is people that need it. And we said, if your neighbor, you don't need it, give it to somebody that does need it. So I hope, if you know of anybody, and we have any left, if you have a name or a number, call Joy and give it to her. And if it's somebody that does need it, now I will tell you, one guy come up with a lady, she'd picked him up down where he stays in the woods. And she verified it and we gave him back. So, I mean, I don't know what he's gonna use, but I mean, so we give him one without a letter, but we do have some extras, so. But if you have anybody, you know anybody, I think it's a good thing to tell us, and then we can, or tell Joy, or Mark, and then Dan. Dan did a great job too. But it was, I'm telling you, the citizens were pleased, and we've had comments from other people too, so. But if anybody knows anybody that needs it, it's, what it is paper goods, paper towels, toilet paper,
Surface cleaner, surface
yeah,
wipes, bleach.
Yeah. And this one lady told me that when this thing started, she got toilet paper from her relative North Florida, and she said she was about to run out. So it was, but it was warm feeling to do that, and they were really thankful of it. So once again, thanks for you guys for passing that deal to do that. So Winter Garden's doing it too, and I don't know how the other one turned out, Rob, with the food baskets. Did you hear
I have
from the
not
health
heard
thing?
that.
Have you heard anything on that?
They were they're being distributed through the Foundation for a Healthier
Yeah.
West Orange,
Yeah,
and, they are being directly distributed to the individual.
okay, all right.
To my understanding. It's supposed to be a box of food that will last a family of 2 for 1 month.
Yeah,
Ooh, nice.
I'm sure it's a lot of I'm
Yeah,
assuming some
yeah.
dry items that can be,
so we thank Cisco, give us a discount, saved us some money on it too. We got to do a little more stuff, so
Yeah.
once again, I just want to say thanks for the staff. We do a phone call every Monday at 2 o'clock. We talk to all the directors with the city, Rob, and,
I think our record was 2 hours and 15 minutes, and we were all ready
yeah,
to
it
get
gets
off
a little
that
long
call.
sometimes. Somebody knows how to talk. But it's worked out. Everybody's getting the information out. So if you know of anything, hear anything that you need to tell somebody, tell them. And if you know somebody that needs to be notified, or somebody needs to take them some information, Commissioner, let us know. We'll do that too.
I'll put it out there.
All right. All right. June the 2nd, are we going to open the meeting back up in June, you think? Or are we going to do the same thing?
I think we have the meeting scheduled right now. If we have to do this, and I guess we'll probably have to talk to the chief. That's the next thing we need to talk
All right.
about. We know we have some time on that one
All
yet.
right. All right, let us
So,
all know.
okay.
All right.